Stuart Walter. I'm going to share with you today a very, very powerful process. Now, I know I say powerful process to pretty much everything I've done or created. This is something that's been driving me for 12 years now as far as my professional career. So it's not just helping people, it's becoming successful in my own right so that people are drawn towards me. I did a talk in New Zealand last year, and it was interesting. Someone said, you're so successful because of, and I'll go, no. Not the fact that I work with 34 world champions, that doesn't make me successful. Success is becoming the person that 34 world champions choose to work with. So they're choosing to work with my success. So think about that in far as your world and how it's going to be. Now, this process I'm going to share with you is the same that these 34 world champions use. Now, what I'm going to do is, this is a brief outline. There's a greater long-term and fully detailed process that I'll be putting on the enrollment program. So what I've actually got for you today is what we call the target process. The target process is literally through explanation. A target is something to aim at. Okay, so without having something to aim at, how can you hit it? Without having knowing or where or why, it's not going to happen. So it's about a goal setting process, and I know you're probably sick of goal setting processes, and to be honest, so am I, because there's not many that work on the way that our actual brain works. The basic fundamentals of the human mind exist in this process. Now, when you understand this, you'll understand why a lot of these other goal setting processes don't work. They confuse you, they demotivate you basically. So it works on the process of vision. Vision is long-term. Vision is, no matter where we are looking, that's where energy flows, and we all know that. So think about this stuff. I'm going to make it quite visual today. So I've got a whole selection of images, kind of success images. People being successful, sporting images, speaking type of images. What else we got there? Having someone working for you doing the hard work. If you're in Australia, you'd understand this. Australian dollar notes. Okay, if you want a body, who doesn't want a body like that? I would. Cars. Now, you don't necessarily have to have a supercar, but hey, if it works, do it. Retirement you've got to look at. You've got to look at relationships. How are your relationships, or any type of. You've got to have holidays. So all these come towards basically creating an existing and super life. So quite simple. Let's choose two things. Let's look at, so for example, life. You don't necessarily have to have 3 kids, but anyway, let's give that one a crack. So what I'd like you to do is focus on something there. I know you've got kind of long-term vision and this is all how it works, but we'll give you a bit of an idea. So what I want you to do is focus on this image. Now, not the whole image, but I want you to narrow it down, whether it be one of the children, whether it be one of the adults, and then narrow that vision down a little bit more. You might narrow it down to like a hand, or the tip, or the top of the head, something there that you can really narrow that vision down to. And I know you've got this in a smaller screen, but work with me here. Okay, what I want you to do is just focus on an image. Focus at it, on it, through it, and find that one particular dot and just focus on it. So all your vision goes towards that one single point. So keep fixed on that. And just watch what happens. Keep focusing on it, at it, through it, 100% focused on it, and just notice what happens when I walk past. Great. What did you see? For most people, you'd be so focused on this, you wouldn't have seen that. And this is what happens in life. So this is where I can prove that people can't multitask. Quite simple. Okay, so I'm going to find this, where's this business image? Now what I want you to do here is have a look at that. What I want you to do is, again, pick a certain point on that. It could be the hand, it could be the chin, it could be the nose, it could be the end of the tie, it could be the fist, it could be something in there. Now you focus on one of those. Once you've narrowed that little pinpoint focus down, what I want you to do is have a look at that image in focus, that image in focus at the same time. Okay? Look at both images with the same focus at the same time. And all of a sudden you realise it's not possible, is it? It's not possible, and then when you start adding all these other goals into it, health, fitness, sporting endeavours, successes, financial, holidays, housing. Once you've got these in there as well, doesn't that get confusing? So if you can't focus on 2, how can you focus on 20? And that is where this process will fix it. Typically you've got that whole vision board thing, which is all these images up there and just imagine yourself living in that lifestyle. That's great. But what's the first step you have to take from it? You don't know, do you? So this is where this process is very, very powerful. Let me just take these off for a moment. So it's a matter of defining your goals. Okay, let's have a look at things like health and happiness, love, wealth, house, lifestyle, toys, cars, shoes if you're ladies, community, could be charities. All these have to be defined. This is where your goal setting process works really well. But then you think, right, if I only focus on happiness, what am I missing? You're going to miss everything else, aren't you? If I focus on health, if I focus on love, if I focus on wealth, if you only focus on wealth, you're going to miss everything else. Okay, so we've got houses, we've got cars, we've got lifestyle, we've got travel, we've got community, we've got, well, let's just call it dollars, and we've got relationships. Whatever you want, all these goals, you can have thousands. Now, what we do with this is quite simple. Remember that vision, that ability to look at only one thing clearly. This is where it works, because what we're about to do is go, right, imagine you can create all this. Okay? Because you can. Now imagine waking up one day and going, I've got it. Where would you go? How would you celebrate? Who would you be with? What would you do? And this is where it all comes into place. Hopefully that's clear enough for you. Where would you go? What's the celebration? Okay, let's call it Paris. Someone might want to go to Paris. Land at the airport. You're in Paris, aren't you? Take off again. See, that sounds ridiculous, but this is the way a lot of goal setting processes work, because it's just getting to that point. This is where it all works effectively and efficiently within your mindset. So, you're in Paris. So what is the ultimate destination or the experience? Because we go there for an experience, an emotional connection. That might be the Eiffel Tower. You might be there with friends. You might be there with family. You might want to climb the Eiffel Tower. Then at night you might want to go and have a nice little restaurant, a meal at a restaurant. You might be sitting there having a certain food. You might be going, right, I want to celebrate with a glass of red wine, and this is the central focal point. How do you feel at that moment? If you feel at that moment, you feel awesome. Isn't that great? Imagine sipping that first sip of red wine in that little beautiful restaurant underneath the lights of the Eiffel Tower in Paris. If you focus on this, what are you missing? Because this, through the look of it, what does it remind you of? Target. And this is the target process. Naturally, our eyes are always going to go towards the middle. So this target, this celebration, is the end result of happiness and health and love and wealth and house and lifestyle, cars, toys, dollars, and relationships. This is the end result of it. Okay, so if you're not happy, this is not going to work. If you don't have the wealth, this is not going to work. See how it all is now becoming interactive. Okay, if you don't have the dollars, that's not going to help. But what we're doing is, when you focus on this, remember, if you just focus on the house or you just focused on wealth, you're missing everything else. By focusing on this, what are you missing? Nothing. Because all this has to happen for this to happen. Quite simple, isn't it? This is how. This is the emotional connection. Awesome. And anyone who knows me, how you going, Stuart? Awesome. Why? Because I'm rewiring my brain. My brain is wired to respond this way to everything. How's your day? Awesome. Ever heard those people go, how's your day? Not bad. Well, if it's not bad, what is it? People are too scared. When you go to a shop and people go, oh, hi, how's your day today? It's awesome. They're shocked. So all you need to do is to define these goals. Define this target. What is it? Get the emotional connection to this and feel this way. When you feel this way at the end result, if you bring this back up now and you become awesome now, these opportunities will present themselves. All because you have focused on the long-term focus. You have to believe this is possible, and it is. Now this, in the basic form, is the target process. If you'd like to know more about it, please go to the Elite Mindset Institute enrollment program. In this enrollment program, you get access to the target process, fully detailed, fully explained. You get the Dear Diary process, which is the daily integration of this. You get the long-term focus of the diary process itself. And there's so many variations of what can be done on this to create the ultimate life. The only way you're going to fail in creating this ultimate life is to not follow the basic steps. The basic steps are the basic fundamentals of the human mind that always exist. So it's quite simple, isn't it? It's a systemized process to get you to that point by following these steps, because it all happens within our minds. There's fundamentals, there's rules that exist every time. Every thought, every action, every behavior is determined through how we think. This will change the way we think, therefore the way we act, the way we respond. Just because you think nothing else has worked, it's because it's not designed to work the way the brain actually works. Now, I'm a specialist in working with the unconscious part of the mind, the 97% of how we think, believe, act, behave and communicate. Wouldn't you think that's more effective than any other system out there? Please, go to the enrollment program, take this information, expand on it what you will with all your uses, your tools, your resources you have now, and all the knowledge, and see what you can do. Aim big. We'll talk to you really soon. Thanks. Hi, Stuart Walter, I'm back again. To add to what we've just seen on the introduction, what I'm going to do for you is to expand on this. Okay, so now we've defined that we need to be awesome. Now, okay, this is a hard thing. This is where it kind of tricks a lot of people. How can I just be awesome? Well, who chooses your emotions? Who chooses your actions, your behaviors, your beliefs, your habits? You do. Just as you can choose to be upset, you can choose to be angry, you can choose to be awesome. And this is what we're going to work on right now. Because if we reverse engineer your life, let's start at this point. How do you feel there? I feel awesome, great. Imagine knowing you've won the lotto 5 times and not knowing when you're getting paid. How would you live? How would you be? Awesome. Live like you will be. Not fake it till you make it, because this is how you can rewire your brain. There's an incredible process called neuroplasticity, incredible research and scientific proof and evidence of how the brain actually rewires itself based on how you think, based on the emotion, based on projecting yourself forward, based on the future. There's your future. There's the visuals. That's how you feel. When you go to sleep, you start focusing on your target process, not the goals. Focus on this one thing. Remember, most people get easily distracted because they're focused on one thing and they think, oh, I need to focus on work, I need to focus on building wealth. That's good. But what if you're missing the opportunities, you're missing the directions to go and focus on travel, to focus on health, to focus on love. Isn't that amazing? So think about distractions. What is a distraction? A distraction is what a lot of people call something that takes my focus away. Well, I put it to you again. If you're, say, focused on making money, then all of a sudden your brain goes, oh, I need to go over there for some reason. Oh, I need to think about that. Oh, I need to do this. That's not your mind distracting you. That's your mind directing you. It's directing you potentially away from money into health. So your brain is going, right, I need to focus on this right now. Then it's going to be directed towards love, and then it's going to be directed towards the car, then it's going to direct you towards relationship, because when you focus on this, law of attraction states you get what you focus on. Focus on the end result, forget about how, focus on the end result, and the opportunities will open themselves up for you. How we do this is quite simple. Let me use this little bit of board. Okay, let's just say this is our starting point. This is where we are now. How do we get to this point? One, we set it. We define exactly what it is. We define these goals. Write them down. That's part of the workbook that we've got in the enrollment program. So write down your goals, write down your reason, write down your why, write down your target, define it in every possible area of life. Then you wait. You wait for what we call the direction, not a distraction. If your mind is focused on something, then you get, if you hear something, become aware of something or see something 3 times in 24 hours. It's not a distraction, it's a direction. It's your mind telling you you need to be somewhere else. Trust it. You might be directed over here, because at this point there's something that you're going to learn from. It's going to be some positive or beneficial outcome. If you're sitting there having, sitting there doing some work and thinking, I've got to do this proposal, I've got to do this quote, and if some person comes to mind and go, we've got to have a coffee with them, got to have a coffee with them, got to have a coffee with them 3 times in 24 hours, pick up the phone, arrange a coffee, because you don't know what you're going to meet or what you're going to experience, who you're going to meet, what you're going to say, something that's going to trigger something that's going to help you get to this point. And that is what you do. Then when you get to that point and you experience that, then you might be directed over here. Then you might be directed back here. Don't worry about the perceived going backwards, because you may be not going backwards. You might be over here for some reason. You might be then directed over here. This might be, at this point in time, a really bad experience, a negative experience. So what is your brain doing at that point? For most people, they go, oh, I didn't like that, therefore, this is not going to happen. But this was essential, because without taking this direction, you wouldn't have experienced that. You wouldn't have met that person. You wouldn't have that bit of knowledge and confidence. So this, you can either sit there and wait for the next rule of 3. You can come back and go, that was positive, because that might be the clincher to get you through to there, to there, to there, to there. Success is not a straight line. That I can guarantee everyone you'll know. Because I can guarantee you did not wake up and go, right, this is who I am as a child, this is what I want to do. Life is going to be throwing curveballs at you, and just when you think you're in charge, you get hit with these. As long as you know that is not a bad experience, this is an experience that you attached a negative emotion to, so if you can make that a positive. So from now on, any negative experience in your life, celebrate it. Celebrate it with awesomeness. Because when you get a positive emotion and slap it on top of a negative, it flattens itself out. This is the power of the target process. So this is how analytical people, you want systems. Here is a system. 3 times in 24 hours, it's simple. Visual people, you focus pure on this. Emotional people, you focus on the emotions of it. To become successful in your life, this is how it works. Now, when it comes to goals, I'll send another recording through shortly, but this, my friends, is a target process. Go to the Dear Diary process program. Find the workbook. The workbook will help you define each one of your goals. Okay, do that. Then, once you've got these, then come back and define your target. What is your target? Remember, it's a celebration of your success. Okay? It's a celebration of your success, not the success itself. It's not having all this. It's who are you? How are you celebrating? What's the emotional connection at that point? You might say it's an overseas trip. Yeah, that's great. But where do you want to start? Where do you want to finish? What is that defining moment that goes, I am here? That becomes that single point of focus in your life. That becomes it. Mine is sitting back in a beautifully designed tropical house, reflecting, 'cause I'm on my health, my happiness, love, wealth. In the house, knowing I've got the car. Where is it? And anyone who knows me, you know the car that it is. The Audi blue R8. With a lifestyle, taking 12 weeks off every year for my son and for my wife. Traveling anywhere I want. Working with some of the best athletes and business people in the world. Traveling and touring with them. Does that work? For many people, most people will call it this. I call it my professional passion. That's just what I do. Community. I've got my own foundation, my secret foundation initiatives. Money. I got my vision. Because we need to focus on vision. This is not for average people. This is definitely not for average people. And I'll explain average. This is why people that want to be realistic, average. There's incredible people in the world that are fighting to be average. So they don't get recognized, they don't be seen, but it takes just as much energy to be average as it will be to be incredible. You decide it. You decide. So this, my friends, is a target process. If you've got any questions, you've got any comments, please email me through. Send me references, send me testimonials of what's actually happened because of this. This then forms your long-term focus. So when we've done the Dear Diary process, which is a day by day by day by day experience, what are we working towards? Now we know. You can use your Dear Diary process, and here's an example for you. Use the Dear Diary process. Imagine sitting there in Paris in the restaurant, having that glass of red. And you can write your diary process as though it's already happened. Here I am sitting here in Paris, glass of red, feeling awesome, knowing I've achieved all this in my life, the person I've become, happiest, healthiest, most in love version of myself, hit the financial goals, hit my community goals. And how this was done? The simple system. My eyes are fixed on the target. To achieve the ultimate health, the ultimate happiness, this is what I did on a daily basis. Notice what I've just done there. This is the diary entry of where you're going to be, for me, 2020. I've written out my diary. Every day when I'm driving to work, I've got my audio recording of this diary entry in my life. Do the same. Document your goals in a Dear Diary workbook. Define your target and carry it around with you in the pocket. People know I carry these things around in my pocket. Why? Because every time I reach in my pocket, what am I doing? Right, every time is a reminder. On my mobile phone, you will see exactly the same thing. I turn it on the home screen, there's the photo. On my iPad, I've got this because that's what's driving me. Everything has got to be a reminder of exactly what you're doing, because that rewires your brain, and this is a very, very powerful process. I cannot underestimate the power that this has. Enjoy it. And I'll talk to you really soon. See ya. Take care. Bye.